Principles of Recovery. This beautiful Wednesday night. Please join us as we worship King of Kings. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship
That's the beauty of it, right? I mean, I sit there and I think about it to myself, and it's like, how many times, man, do you feel like you've been lied to? Most of the time, honestly, growing up, I felt like I was lied to. But you see, that's because there is one who is the master liar, and he is the one who tries to make sure that you don't achieve what you're trying to be, right? But the one who is the promise keeper is the one and only, my Lord. That's the one who I can trust, right? And I got to learn how to stop listening to the lies of the enemy, because that's exactly what that is. What is his job? His job is to kill, steal, and destroy. And how does he do that? He does that with lies. Anyway, I'm on a soapbox. Let me go ahead and open it up the way we normally do. Serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Man, you know what? I am so glad to see each and every one of you here, and I mean that. It's one of those things where last night I was listening to actually one of you guys, and not here tonight, but that's fine. And I listened, I went, whoa, there's the topic right there. Sometimes I get the topic a week before, sometimes I get the topic a day before. And last night I was literally sitting there thinking, man, I need to know this. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, somebody share. In their share, I went, there we go, right? So what is it? It's the action of restitution. Okay, so we know what that really is, right? What is the action of restitution? It's all about making amends. It's about the ninth step, right? And so when I listened to this person, they were sharing about they're getting ready to make this ninth step amends. I sat there and I just shook my head a little bit, a lot, and thought, no, it's not time. And all of a sudden I'm going, but you know what? I did that. First time I went out there and made amends, man, I was like, woo, I got to go make amends. And what did I do? Man, I about destroyed a lot of relationships because, it just wasn't time. And so that's what we're going to be looking at tonight is when is it time? When should we take care of that, right? And so sometimes I think that we see action of making amends, it's really all about us. And guess what? If you hadn't figured it out by now, the eighth and ninth step ain't about you. Some of it is, a little bit is, but it's not all about you, right? So it is in part because there's a lot of benefits for us when we complete those steps. But first, what we have to do is we got to do what? Look at ourselves. How do we do that? In the fourth and fifth step, right? And check this out. There's no way we could get through that without what? Without God. See, in the third step, we turn everything over and say, hey, there's God. And then what happens? And then we take a step forward and we say, well, and that's always, like I say, the fourth step's always funny to me because, it tells us that we had to be honest before God in the fifth step, right? God, another human being. And I always think to myself, God knew exactly what was going down before it ever even happened, but you over there trying to hide it. That's funny to me, right? And I was one of those that was working on that hard. Anybody in here ever negotiated with God himself? Man, many times, if you'll just do this, I swear, it's like, if she's not pregnant, I'll never have sex again. Lie! But it's a stupid negotiation we're trying to do with God because why? Because I need relief. See, the whole thing is as we get to that point in the eighth and ninth step, we're trying to get rid of self-centeredness. So the first thing we have to be willing to do is look at the eighth step. And what does that eighth step say? It says, come on, everybody, 1, 2, 3, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So does that mean if I can't make my list to everyone that I have offended or I took something from or whatever I did, that I shouldn't do it at all? No. Write down everyone that you want to. Then we're going to write everyone down that you don't want to. That's how it works. Because what is the eighth step all really about? Well, you see, the eighth step checks the heart of the person. That's right. Are you willing to admit your faults? Well, you already took your fourth step, took an inventory yourself. You said, hey, I'm kind of not the best person in the world. Fifth step, you said, hey, this is everything I did. So why not just roll it over into the eighth, right? See, what's so funny and so stupid was it was real common when I first got sober. It was one of those things, it's like everybody goes, oh man, I like took my fifth step and I took it with my sponsor and then I burned it. Right? Am I right? Okay, we saw that. Yeah? All right, and so it's like I burned it. And it's like, why? Because you just gave up your eighth step, right? Think about it. So, okay, so we take the eighth step, and what does that mean? It means that I have a willing heart to not just admit what I did wrong, but I really do want to make amends for it. I want to straighten it out. What's amends mean? To amend something is what? To try to put it back in place. If you amend a contract, then you take something that was not in the best interest of someone, and you amend it to try to make it to what the original intent was. Well, that's how it has to be with relationships. See, especially if you have estranged relationships. You know, I heard the weird statistic today, and I was blown away because I have one, right? One out of every 4 families in America has an estranged child. And at first, I kind of halfway blew it off until I realized I have one. Doesn't talk to me. Won't answer a call. None of that. And that's okay, and I'm learning how to deal with that, and I'm learning how to live through that and keep loving that person regardless, right? But the thing is, the reason I bring that up, it's amazing, what did we do? What did we do to our kids? I don't know. I got to take responsibility somewhere because I did something, right? And maybe it's because, you know, that's my youngest and I wasn't around because I was busy trying to build businesses. Wasn't important. Thought it was at the time, right? And one day I'll be able to make amends to him for that and for some other things. But that's a whole nother deal. But first thing we have to look at is, what is your motivation? In other words, why are you willing now to sit there and say, hey, I no longer want to live like this. I don't want to carry this weight. Man, I will tell you this. When you start writing it down, right, pen to paper, and let me tell you, don't make notes. Don't go on your pad. Pen to paper. Start writing these down, and you start realizing there's something about that physical action that begins to release it. And you begin to make that list of what I did. What did I do to these people? You know, so what is your motivation? Well, my motivation was I realized that a lot of the guilt was a part of my addiction. That's what kept taking me back. Or took me to a place I didn't like. It took me to very dark places. You know, it was like, why did I drink? A lot of it was to get away from the guilt and shame I was feeling. Anybody else can relate to that one? Okay, thank goodness. And so what I began to do is I said, my motivation's got to change. See, I'm willing to do anything that's different from what I've been doing. So why don't I begin to write these things down? And I did. And then all of a sudden I started going, maybe, if nothing else, it's just the fact that it's time for me to do the next right thing. Maybe that's all it's about, but I was willing to do that. And so the other thing I had to look at is, how did my self-centeredness affect others? Man, it's not that, you know, I didn't care. Sometimes I didn't care, but a lot of what happened was it came out of a lot of fear. You see, I took things from people because I had a fear that I wouldn't have money to take care of what I needed to take care of, which I thought was a day-to-day habit, right? Or maybe I didn't mind lying to somebody or about somebody because somehow I was afraid that they were going to get my job. Or maybe I didn't have a hard time not being totally straight in a relationship with that person. So that way I could probably not be 100% honest with her, and then she would believe that my lie. Because you see, I didn't like who I was. So I was trying to portray somebody or whatever. Or maybe for some of us, it's just because we have a lot of hurt in our past, right? Tell you something. Sometimes our whole motivation for taking advantage of somebody is hey, I'm going to take advantage of them before what? Before they take advantage of me. I mean, that's the code of the street, right? I'm going to get what you have before you get what I have. Just is. And so sometimes it's just that hurt. Or maybe I don't mind cutting people down. You know, I was talking about this last night. It's like, I had a tongue that could cut you in shreds. And somehow I thought that was a really hip thing. You know, it's like, man, check me out. I'm such a bad dude. And the truth is, that is cowardness. I was a wuss, my friends, because how? Because, see, I'm going to cut you down and tell you how horrible you are because I'm so afraid you're going to tell me how bad I am or what I've done. So that's what I'm saying. So a lot of times our motivation, we got to be real clear on what is my motivation. My motivation was to change something in my life. And by being honest and taking responsibility, I started to change. And the more change we have, like the more what? We lose that self-centeredness. See, it's no longer all about us. That's why I've adopted that term, and a lot of y'all have heard me say, it's like I look at somebody says something to me, and I'm like, yeah, really? Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you just like it is. And I go all off on it in my head. But now I say, interesting, and leave it at that. Because you see, I don't want to have to go make amends later. It's not worth it to me. It's just not worth it. But what is the ninth step all about? Well, the ninth step is an action of the heart. So one is what? It's a test of the heart. The other is the action, right? So if you admitted that you're wrong, now what? What do you do now, right? You already admitted on paper, yeah, I'm wrong. Well, guess what? You take action in the restitution. It's time to take action in what you put down. You said you were willing to do that. You said you were willing to go to somebody. And here's the problem, man. A lot of people, oh, wow. They're like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to go tell the world how bad I was. And you end up hurting yourself. Years ago, I was on a TV program about teenage alcoholics, right? And you know, of course, we used fake names. Like, that makes a difference. And you know, my dad ended up losing a major client because they were like, if you can't control your kid, how are you going to control my money? And that was an amends I had to make later on. But the point is that you see, I still was living in self-centeredness trying to quote unquote make amends. It's not about you. It's about trying to put back things that are right. Ah, man, make yourself accountable to your sponsor or to your pastor. Find somebody that has two things that you can be accountable to and have common sense. Let them please have the common sense to tell you, you don't need to go and say that. But you don't know. I literally know a dude who had something he did that was illegal, and it was very bad, and he was sober about a year, and he decided that he needed to go back and make this amends to this person that he had done this to, who didn't even know who did it. And he spent 8 years in prison after that. Not smart. Now, should he have made amends? Yes. That's one of those times that he probably needed to know how to structure an anonymous amends. Just being honest. And that's what I heard last night. Somebody's like, I may have to go to prison for this. It's like, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you don't. You don't. But there's a way to do that. So we want to make sure that it's not all about clearing our conscience. That's what most of the time it is. I just want to clear my conscience, man. Well, let me tell you, God can clear your conscience. See, if you go to him first, he'll give you a plan and a way to handle this. And that's who it really makes sense to do. I had to wait 33 years to make amends to somebody. 3 sponsors worth telling me, not yet. Not yet. You'll know. I'm like, but I need to tell them. No, you don't. Not yet. You do, but it's not yet. And literally, the crazy thing is that person came and lived in my home with my wife. And one day, it was like I heard, it's time. And I still didn't do anything right away. I talked to my sponsor. And she said, it's time. I said, okay. And I did. And this person freaked out because they had literally put it out of their mind. It was pretty serious, and they put it out of their mind. But what it did do is they were trying to get some breakthrough in therapy, and it was one of the things that pushed them on through, and they came back later, moved out of my house within a week, and came back later and said, if you hadn't had done that when you did it, I wouldn't have gotten the breakthrough that I needed. They were getting ready to go through trauma therapy, and it wasn't that I caused all the trauma, but I was part of that. I guess you would call it, I don't know, kind of a stoppage of what needed to happen. And then all of a sudden that broke, and it led into some other stuff, which led into finally the full breakthrough. But what does the ninth step actually say? It says, made sort of an amends. No, right? It says what? Made a direct amends to such people whenever possible. Sometimes it's not possible. But then it goes on from there. It says, except when to do so would injure them or others. We're going to take a minute on that one. Let me help you out with this. You ain't another, and you ain't them. So I've heard that my entire sobriety life. Have you heard that? It's like, oh, well, consider yourself an other if it hurts you. Well, that's too easy. Now, is there certain ways to do things that don't affect you? Yeah, there is. And that's when you sit down with people who have experience on how to do this, and they coach you through it. And as they coach you through it, all of a sudden you have not hurt others. Let me tell you something. I had a guy not too long ago, because I sponsor in different programs, and this was an SA program, right? SLA. So Sex Anonymous, right? Sex, Love, Anonymous. And this person had, let's just say, an indiscretion. That's a nice way to put it. But had been in the program for a while, so wanted to run home right then and tell his wife. I'm like, for what reason? Well, I just think it's the right thing to do. No, what reason? What's your real motivation in doing that? And you know what the most amazing thing was? He finally said, because I want to clear my conscience. Oh, so you're going to put your wife through hell to clear your conscience. You got 2 small children, and you're going to rock your whole world to get it off your mind, to clear your conscience. It ain't time. And there will be a time and a place, but it wasn't then. And so what it began to do is put him on a path to change his relationship with his wife. And she became more important to him. And so instead of a divide, they actually got some counseling and came more close together. Right? And he's a better dad and a better lot of other things. That's what I'm saying. You can't just go, I just want to clear my conscience. Guess what, my friends? Sometimes we live with consequences of our behaviors. It's just truth, right? But let's take this a little bit farther. Everybody knows about the promises, right? So can you guys help me out? Where do you find the promises? See, I've been in this program forever, and I've never, ever found the promises. Ever. I've found the 3rd step promises, 7th step promises, and guess what? There's something called the 9th step promises. Now, why do I say that? Because people sit around who are on the 3rd step and go, I'll tell you what, the last 6 months I've been sober. It's been great, and my whole life, I'm seeing the promises coming true. No. So we're going to break them down. Here we go. So, yeah, here we go. 9 step promises. If we are what? Painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. That's where people go, the promises are already happening for me. No. It gets better. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Oh, why? Because, see, I was painstaking I didn't want to go make some amends I did. Just didn't want to. But it says we're going to know new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. Let me tell you something. That is one of the greatest lines in the book, because what that tells me is I don't have to suffer under the shame that I lived in for so long. It doesn't have control over me. Guess what? It means the enemy doesn't have control over me anymore. That's freedom. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. See, what I've done in the past, I'll talk to you about it. If you really want to know what the worst thing is in my fifth step, come see me afterwards. I'll be more than happy to tell you, because it doesn't hold anything with me anymore. We will comprehend the word serenity. What is serenity? Peace. And we will know. Anybody else got their brain running all the time? Thought so. And we will know peace no matter how far down the scale we have gone. We will see how our experience can benefit others. That's the beauty of it, man. You see, what I did that was so stupid and so wrong is what helps me be a halfway decent pastoral counselor at times. Because guess what? I can't judge you. If I didn't do it, I was thinking about how to do it, or I couldn't figure out how to do it. The feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Well, doggone, that means I don't get to go and go, oh, I'm just such a bad person. And live in that? No, I get to step up out of that. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in who? Everybody else. I'm no longer going after to see what I can rip off from everybody else. I'm actually starting to go, hey, how can I be of service to them? Self-seeking will slip away. It doesn't just walk away. Self-seeking, man, come on. How many of us are still into self-seeking modes at times? I am. But it's harder and harder for me to be there because literally over time it slips away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. It's no longer what can I get from you before you get from me. It's now how can I help you even though I may not need help back. How can I be selfless? We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. How many people are in here that are surprised they're in here? Meaning, I'm surprised I'm still alive. And it goes on. It says, are these extravagant promises? No, they're not extravagant. I never have understood. We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if what? If we work for them. See, that's the 9-step promises. So until you're doing that, you're never going to truly experience those things, even though it may look like it is. So here's the thing. I want to look at an interesting character in the New Testament, right? Let's go to Luke 19, 1 through 9. Let's check old Zach out. And let's see what's going on. So it says, Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. He's walking through the town. Come on. There was a man there named Zach. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. Let me help you out with this. Do y'all know what the chief tax collector was? He was the Dom, right? He was the head of the family in that area. Tax collectors, let me explain the way the tax system works. It's really cool, right? Still works this way in certain groups. So Rome says, hey, dude, we need to collect basically 1,000 shekels a year for each person. And he goes, very good. We can do business. So the tax collector turns around and goes, Rome wants 1,500 shekels. And they pocket the 5. And you go, I know Rome doesn't want that, blah, blah, blah. And he says, sends the boys. And the boys are Roman soldiers. So he's got all the power of the centurion sitting there going, we're going to give you an offer you're not going to be able to let go of, right? And so they're going, sure. And so guess what? He's extorting all kinds of money. This is not a good guy. So let's look at old Zach. All right, so he says he tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. I'm going to give you a visual. He jumps up in a tree, basically, well, whatever. We're talking Jeremy getting up in a tree, okay? Just being real. I've already talked to him about it. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. So he already knew how he was going to go, right? But here's what I think is interesting. Who was he looking for? It's more than Jesus. There was something different about this man. There was something. In other words, he did not have happiness in his heart. And he had heard so many people say, hey, this is the dude. He can change everything. And so Zach's going, I'm not happy. Maybe there's a better way. Let me check this guy out. And so all of a sudden, it's like Jesus comes by and he looks up and he says, hey, Zach. And he called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said. Quickly, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. You don't know what that meant. That meant he was going to go to the place, the home of the most hated man in the area. And when we start realizing that, we go, wow. You see, you remember where in the 9-step promises it says that we won't regret our past, basically, in a nutshell, right? I'm putting a lot of it together. Well, see, we have somebody who will never judge us. Matter of fact, not only won't he judge us, but he turned around and took all that junk on himself for us. Right? You see, Jesus had more than a presence that he was coming to. So here we go. So Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in a great excitement and joy. You would have come to my house? But the people were displeased, and he has gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. Meanwhile, isn't that amazing? Things start getting better for you, and people want to grumble. I don't know, go figure. Meanwhile, Zach stood before the Lord and said, I will give half my wealth to the poor. That meant right then. And the Lord, and if I have cheated people, which he knew he did, on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. You see, he knew what he had done to them. He knew the financial position he put them in. So he's trying to make amends by restoring them back to where they were. And Jesus responded, salvation has come to you in this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. Last one. Man, I get excited when I see that. I think, the more I do this, the more freedom I get. What is salvation? It's redemption and freedom. The more I begin to experience. So let's talk quickly about how do you make amends? Well, how about financial restitution? By the way, that's the easiest one. And that's the one we all freak out about. If you knew how much money I owed. Whatever, dude. Here's the thing, though. When you begin to try to do that, it's amazing. All of a sudden, bonuses come that you never expected. Had an old car. This guy goes, an old Cadillac. And this guy says, I'd like to buy this old car because he fixes them up. And I go, sure, why not? Wasn't expecting that. Enough money to take care of an amends. But what do you think I did at first? Ooh, man, I can go on vacation. And then I keep hearing, no, make amends. No, I could do, it was like, so I made amends. You see, when you make financial amends, let's do this, right? What's the first thing you come with? Money, right? The Benjamins. Don't come up to somebody and go, oh, man, I stole from you and I'm really sorry. No, it's I stole from you. I don't have everything I need to cover it. Here's $500. I still owe you $1,000. I'll be by here every Friday with $100 until I pay this off. You see, you have a plan. And guess what? When you have a plan, guess what you just got back? Your integrity. So you got to make that amends, right? And then there's all kinds of other amends, but let's look at Matthew 5:23 and 24. We're going to get through this quickly. So if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your sacrifice to God. You know what God's saying? He's saying, hey, dude, clean it up with the other person before you clean it up with me. Because you see, I've already forgiven you for it. You still need to come to me and ask for the forgiveness. But here's a check this out, man. I'm so big about this, God's saying this. I'm so big about this, I know I can't even forgive you if you don't forgive your brother. So go clean it up. And let me tell you something. Give you a little quick story, right? So I had an issue with a pastor. Hard to believe. Yeah. I had an issue with a pastor. And so I passed on communion. Wasn't going to take communion with aught in my heart. Right? So for a year, I didn't take communion. But now I'm sitting up thinking, people are going to notice I'm not taking communion. They're going to ask me why. And I'm going to tell them. And then Holy Spirit, I can't believe you are still talking to me. Holy Spirit goes, this is pride. I said, what? No. You say don't go. This is pride. Forgiveness rules out pride. But he wronged me. But now I wronged him by holding that odd against him. See, that's how serious this is. So the point is let me tell you something. I'm not even going to go into what all happens if you go to communion and you still got all this anger. Read it for yourself. It'll blow your mind. Right, Pastor? It's serious. I mean, it's serious. Sickness and all kinds of things. Not because, here's the thing. God doesn't put anything on you like that. It's all the fact that you just opened the door. Now you're letting the enemy just attack you. So Jesus said it was basically more important for you to be clean with your brother than going through all the religious stuff, which he never cared much for the religious stuff anyways. That's why he didn't keep all the commandments. I had someone argue that with me, which I thought was funny. He commands us to what? To have peace in our life, no anger with our brothers and sisters. You see, if we don't forgive, like I said, he can't forgive us, but we can't take things to heart. That's how you begin to let things go. It's just, listen, I tell a lot of times when guys are going through divorces and stuff, I'll say, dude, just treat it like business. It's just business. It's just business. Quit taking it personal. Because you see, Jesus doesn't hold everything personal against us that we do or that we've done, even though he took it on. When we make amends, we find out that we remove all obstacles with God. Then there's living amends. Right? You guys start making your way up here. So living amends. What does that mean? It's a true change in life. Some things you're never going to be able to make amends for. Either the person's dead or people don't want it, they don't care. They don't want to hear it from you. They've heard it so many times until you have a life change. That's a living amends. Do the next right thing. Then there's this one. This is a big one. Emotional amends. And it's not talked about because it's in another program, right? CODA, if you want to know what it is. It's when, see, all that other stuff is easy to replace something. It's easy to pay somebody back. It's easy to go say, hey, I'm sorry. And when you say I'm sorry, say this. Say, I apologize. You're not a sorry person. I apologize for what I did to you. This is what I did. Will you please hold me responsible in the future to make sure I don't do that again? And if they say, get out of here, you piece of junk, you say, bless you. Bless you. I had to make amends to my son. I eventually had to make amends to all my sons. But I have one, and my sponsor kept saying, it's not time. I'm like, what did y'all do? Like, all three of my sponsors don't know each other, or, the ones I had over a series. They never knew each other, but by gosh, they all said the same thing. You ever notice that? You ever notice that with yours? It's like one of those things, it's like, it's not time. Over a year, I'm like, I got three things I want to apologize to my kid for. Wow. And there was one that I was so ashamed of. So ashamed of. So I'd smacked my kid. He didn't deserve it. Not like poop. I laid him out when he was about 13. Had to try dad. And dad laid him out. And that's wrong. But when I hit him and I pulled back to hit him again, I saw my eyes looking back at me. Because I'd gone through something like that a lot of times. so I said, I'm so sorry, son, for what I did. I don't know how to make this right. And tears started running down his face. And he goes, Dad, I don't even remember that. Then why are you crying? Because I'm hurting so bad, because you're hurting so bad. Because I love you, Dad. So guess what? I made my other two amends to him, and I said, just trying to do the right thing. I said, and if there's anything that you would like to bring up, oh my gosh, a list fell out of his pocket. Right? Nah, seriously, it was two things. But he told me things that there weren't things I did to him. It was just, there were times I wasn't there. There were times he saw anger that caused him to have to deal with some stuff in his life. And I was able to look at him and say, I didn't do that. No, I said, I'm sorry. I apologize. Is there anything, son, I can do to make that better? He said, no, Dad. I've already worked through that. It's good. It's good. And I sit there and I think to myself, how many times would my life have been different if I wasn't willing to make amends? So I stand here now because you see my father made amends to me for something that had totally affected my life. Oh, I wasn't happy. I didn't forgive him right away. Because you see, I enjoyed holding on to the anger. You got to realize, anger's addictive, man. And it's an excuse. And I held on to that for 2 years. But you know what I couldn't get away from? What I saw in his life, I saw Papa God's heart. I saw him living the righteousness of God. And because of that, the next 40 years, I had a relationship unlike any other with the man that I tried to blame everything on. I got a son right now, total transparency. I got one who blames me for everything. His total cause of everything in life. And you know what? I can't judge him. You know why? Because I've been there. I've been there. You know, is everything right that he says? No. But is some of it? Yeah. And am I willing to take responsibility for it? Yes. Are you willing to take responsibility for the things you've done, knowing that it's either going to do one of two things: hold you back or move you forward? Let it go. Let it go.
Sing a new song
check this out. Who is the first one to have ever, you were the person that ever took your amends? Our Father, who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us away from temptation. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory